The third market that I like to look at is the, so we've done IT type new solutions. We've looked at off-balance sheet type solutions. The third market is, what do we do about this mass of buildings, the 26 million homes that we've got on the 2 million non-domestic premises that we've got that are hopelessly inefficient in terms of the thermal fabric and the lights and appliances that we've got installed in those buildings. And this is a really hard segment, as I implied before. It's a really hard segment to try and get a business model that works, because the finance depends on you being able to get these assets out again if it all goes wrong. That's the ultimate backstop for the banks. This is one area where government is stepping in with the Green Deal, and we'll see how it works. But it could begin to access quite a large market. I think in the first instance, the measures that are included in Green Deal, and they're still evolving. The legislation's now gone through, or the primary legislation's gone through. Secondary legislation will follow, and the details will follow about how the loans work and so on. But my first instinct is that the measures that are included in Green Deal at the moment are just a little bit light, and it will barely scratch the surface of this market that's really available and necessary if we're going to deliver on the 60% cut in CO2. But in terms of developing business models, it's a really interesting area. There are some small businesses emerging in this space, and there are some large businesses emerging in this space. It's a very challenging offer to try and put together to deliver this service to households. Consumers don't really understand energy, and they don't really understand the concept of payback, that if they make an investment now, that there's a benefit to them in financial terms. Energy is very invisible, insulation is very invisible. We've been trying to sell insulation through government programs and in the private sector for a very long time. Now we have to wrap it up in a different way. It's a very difficult offer to get into. The management delivery is very difficult, because there might be one company doing the insulation and another doing the solar thermal at the moment anyway. It's a very difficult market to get into in terms of managing that whole supply chain issue. One of the real challenges, I think, will be building a relationship with those households that take up those measures, because what you do this time around, because it's cost effective, might be very different from what you do in 5 years' time, because costs and benefits may have changed. And you want to keep open the opportunity to go back to improve that relationship. And in terms of participants, there are all sorts of opportunities for firms to reposition themselves. And one of our largest companies, Carillion, sort of a 6 billion turnover facilities management company. I think they used to be called Tarmac, actually. Great exercise in rebranding. Just bought over EGA. I don't know how many people know EGA. EGA used to be the Energy Action Grants Agency. They were a government agency that went private because they could see the benefits of this refurbishment market that was going to be kicking off. They used to run insulation programs to address fuel poverty, but now they've got a whole set of experience and expertise that is potentially really important, but Carillion just bought them over. There are also small players in the marketplace, one-man startups or two-people startups, but there are huge opportunities for other. B&Q and Tesco, I think, are going to be important brands in there, because brand and trust, when you're looking at refurbishment, I think is going to be a really important theme. Data is going to be crucial to everybody, and the data that comes out of the smart meters is going to be crucial to understanding whether the refurbishments had any benefit in terms of cash, and when, and to whom. To the energy companies, because they don't have to buy the power, or buy the expensive power. But the phone companies are sort of eyeing that data and thinking, hang on a minute, that data could be owned separately from the meter. You know, actually, we could get into that marketplace. So that it's likely to be a very competitive marketplace, but it's likely to be large companies repositioning themselves. I have to say, I don't hold any hope for the major utility companies, because they are so tied into their current business model in terms of a low margin, low value offer, that I don't think anybody trusts somebody who sells them electricity to save them electricity. So I think the most likely thing is that these companies will deliver, and these companies will observe, get challenged by it, and then at some point buy some of these partners out, because that's the way they do it. The commercial sector is similar but different in that there are not 25 million consumers, there are approximately 2 million. But also it's differently structured in that most commercial premises are leased rather than owned, and that changes the relationship significantly. It makes it much more difficult because a lot of the measures have a payback which is longer than the outstanding period on the lease. A lot of the leases may be full repairing leases. A lot of the leases require the building to be restored to its initial condition at the start of the lease. So they may, if they put in an improvement, they may have to take it out again. So there are lots of reasons why this landlord-tenant relationship is a huge problem, and actually makes the energy market, the energy conversation, a very difficult one. It's also, you know, it's defined by 300 years of precedent. It's a very old marketplace. The law is very ancient in this place, but generally it's been assumed that the landlord-tenant relationship is, if you like, a relationship between two consenting adults in private who have full knowledge of what it is they're entering into. So why should government intervene? So it's been a very laissez-faire market, if you like. And in a way, driving down carbon and the CSR responsibilities on the tenants, particularly the large tenants, to do something about their carbon footprint and therefore and drive down their consumption, means that they've got to go and talk to their landlords about this. It requires a collaboration, and therefore that collaboration has had two effects. One is the emergence of the so-called green lease, about changing the relationship so that actually, rather than acting in an adversarial way, they can act in a collaborative way. The other thing is it's tended to, the facilities management industry, the FM industry, has tended to be an industry where I heard it once described as year one, understand contract, year two, deliver contract, year three, retender contract. It's a very short-term industry, and actually the FM arrangements, rather than sort of driving down cost, are now critical in terms of delivering energy services. They may be the ones who can affect the light bulbs or the boiler in a building, and take over that responsibility from both the landlord and the tenant. So actually it's a three-cornered relationship rather than just a landlord-tenant relationship. They may be the one who can be the lead investor and finance things off balance sheet.